So, if you really like this movie, I guess you can say it's really super. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a newer release, Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie are, if you already saw it or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie related content on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Superhero. This sees the Red Ribbon Army from Goku's past returning with two new androids to challenge him and his friends. So I'm a big fan of the Dragon Ball franchise, and I can go on about it all day. I grew up with Dragon Ball Z, then I also went through all of Dragon Ball when they went back to dub that and air it in America. Never bothered with GT all the way through. I tried watching a few episodes and I did not like what I saw, and I just Googled the rest of it and I was glad I didn't bother with the whole thing. But I have mostly enjoyed Dragon Ball Super. It's not perfect, but I think it's a blast, mixing that cosmic grand scale feel that's been a big part of Z, but mixing it with the goofier, more lighthearted tone of the original Dragon Ball. And this, being the second movie with the Dragon Ball Super title, brings the series back to even more of a back-to-basics feel. This time, the action doesn't take place in space or involve these cosmic, multiverse-shattering events. You have Goku and Vegeta training off-world the entire movie, and the villains this time around are the Red Ribbon Army, which is especially a major callback to the original Dragon Ball. Now, yes, they also appeared in Z with the androids, but this specifically calls back to Goku's adventures as a kid in the original series and his encounters with the Red Ribbon Army then. And in fact, this is a movie that actually features a lot of callbacks to both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and it's a film that relies heavily on the fanbase's nostalgia. While this is described as a standalone movie, and technically it is, it's also not one that I call the friendliest to those who are new to the franchise. You can get away with watching this having never seen any of the series, but you just won't appreciate it as much. This contains a lot of fan service, callbacks, and Easter eggs that will go over newcomers' heads, but longtime fans will certainly appreciate them, especially when it comes to the characters this chooses to focus on. A big criticism even diehard fans will have of Dragon Ball is that, as it goes on, the series will just become the Goku and Vegeta show. Characters who once put up a decent fight against Goku when he was young, or were seen as equals in the early days, were now severely outclassed, and the villains just got more and more powerful that if either Goku or Vegeta wasn't around, then everyone's screwed. And while I do enjoy both of those characters immensely, there are still plenty of other really fun characters in the supporting cast that deserve some time to shine, which, to Super's credit, it does try including the likes of Krillin, Tien, and many others more, even if it still has Goku or Vegeta swooping in to save the day multiple times. But this places the focus primarily on Gohan and Piccolo, who have a relationship that was praised as one of the best in the glory days of DBZ, and rightfully so, with Piccolo acting as a father figure to Gohan. Now, Piccolo is one of my absolute favorite characters. He's easily the most clever of all the heroes, and while he was still there as a mentor to some of the younger characters, I was disappointed to see his skills as a fighter would be downplayed, especially in the latter part of Z. Meanwhile, Gohan has been a character that has been infamously done dirty by the show. In the majority of DBZ, he was set up as having all this potential as a kid, and by the end of the Cell arc, he's set up to be the new hero going forward, only for things to then backtrack once he's a teenager and he gets weaker, causing Goku to come in and save the day during the Buu saga. And even with him taking part in some of the action in the show, we still never saw much of the Gohan we followed in the Frieza and Cell arcs, who'd have all these meltdowns and just wail on these villains and give them a run for their money. Now this rectifies that mistake. In fact, this directly addresses that with a major character arc for Gohan being how he's slacking on his training and how he has to get back to it despite settling down and having a full-time job. Though, after some goading, we see him tap into all that potential that he's long since forgotten. And if you've been missing the Gohan of the past, you'll be sure in for a treat here, because it's awesome, and I'll just leave it at that. You'll need to see the rest for yourself. But it's also great to see Piccolo, a character who once had the potential to rival Goku and even Vegeta at times, get a serious upgrade here. Generally, the only major upgrades in the latter parts of the series came to the Saiyan characters. There was Super Saiyan 2, 3, Super Saiyan Blue, and so on and so forth. But no one else, no matter how hard they trained, was ever shown to get something that even puts them remotely in the same league. And with Piccolo especially, that was always a shame. But once again, this rectifies that as well, with a form known as Orange Piccolo that sees him get an incredible power boost and allows him to once again show off how great of a fighter he is. So this allows for the best of both worlds once more with this character and serves as a reminder as to why he's so beloved and why he's one of my favorites. Not only do we still get to see how clever he can always be, but we once again get to see him be just an absolute badass as a fighter, generally taking the lead through most of the fights here. And it's also just nice to see the film further develop Piccolo and Gohan's relationship, which is one of the driving forces of this movie. It shows Piccolo being an active part of Gohan's family and helping him take care of his daughter, and these moments add not just a lot of heart for the way it fondly touches upon one of the franchise's best pairings, but it also adds a lot of humor. As is usually the case with any of the Dragon Ball entries, this is pretty funny, with Piccolo himself actually getting a lot of the good moments. Usually in any of the sequences involving Gohan's daughter Pan, or involving moments where Piccolo has to go through a disguise to get a better insight into the Red Ribbon Army, which I'll leave there. But to my point, there's no shortage of laughs here. There's plenty of laugh-out-loud moments that serve as a nice balance to a lot of the dramatic tension. Now, when it comes to the Red Ribbon Army, that is where I want to touch upon one of my big criticisms. This doesn't focus necessarily on the exact same characters from the original show, but the descendant of one of those characters, as well as some new ones, including, if you're watching the English dub, one voiced by Charles Martinet, aka the voice of Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi from the Super Mario games, so that was really cool. But the first part of the film focuses a lot on these characters, and in order to catch us up with what's been going on with this organization, there is a lot of exposition that goes into it. And I mean a lot of exchanges as we get up to speed with them while they plot to revive the army. And it's all done with the usual Dragon Ball charm. Some of the exchanges are meant to be funny, and these characters are meant to be very lively and energetic. But the amount of setup that goes into these characters' conversations, along with whenever we cut away to see what our protagonists have been up to and get some more exposition there, it's a lot. It got to the point I felt a little impatient at times, so this movie does take some time to get things going. It still has nothing on the pacing that plagued Dragon Ball Z back in the day, don't get me wrong there, it's not god-awful or anything, but I think it could have gotten to the point just a bit quicker. And also the other thing worth mentioning is the animation. While Dragon Ball is primarily known for being a 2D animated franchise, this is the first entry made entirely with 3D animation. We had snippets of 3D in the previous movie, Broly, during some of the fight scenes, but this is the first to just go all in, front to back 3D. And it can take some getting used to be quite honest. It could be one of those things that goes away with repeat viewings, but the designs can look a little wonky to be quite honest. But I think once you do get used to it, and once you get past the exposition-filled first act, I think this really picks things up. When it gets to the actual fighting, which is of course what Dragon Ball has always been known for, it doesn't disappoint. Like I said, it'll just be cool to see Piccolo and Gohan, two characters who have been unfairly sidelined as the series went on, get their time to shine and really be the badasses they can be. But the animation during these sequences is just absolutely gorgeous. This is where the 3D animation can be most appreciated. My theater wasn't crowded when I saw it, but it was filled with all die-hard Dragon Ball fans, and everyone was just cheering and shouting and just having a good time seeing on the big screen the biggest staple that makes Dragon Ball so enjoyable. And once we get going, the pacing issues go away, and the film has you pretty much hooked in from there on out. Again, it still mentions a fair amount of callbacks and references to a lot of things that happened in previous series, let alone things that happened in Super, but hey, if you're a big fan of this franchise as a whole, it just means you'll be smiling from ear to ear the entire time. Dragon Ball Super Superhero is a treat for die-hard Dragon Ball fans. It might not be the franchise at its absolute best due to an exposition-heavy first act and some 3D animation that can take some getting used to, but once things get going, it's a lot of fun. It's filled with some gorgeously animated fight scenes, it's very funny, and it contains a lot of great fan service, shining a spotlight on characters who deserve it a lot more, making for another solid entry in this beloved franchise. Dragon Ball Super Superhero gets a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Dragon Ball Super Superhero, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Is this your favorite Dragon Ball movie? Do you want more Goku and Vegeta movies, or do you want more stories focused on the side characters? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep having fun with film.